Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. This is going to be my Flash episode 6 video. Just careful for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. The Savitar aesthetic it seems like they've gone with is like a Daniel West costume via Megatron Transformers. So like very metallic, very pointy and dangerous, but just meant to be more horrifying than previous versions of the Reverse Flash, like Zoom. So many comic book things happening in this episode. So they had the Shade character, which actually debuted in Flash number 151. He's like an actual character. They also just reintroduced him in Flash Rebirth. But there was so much about dual identities, secret identities, like Earth 19, Harrison Wells had the thing that masked his identity so that he wouldn't be arrested in public, Caitlin's Killer Frost dual identity, and then Wally's dual identity. So beneath the plot in this episode, they're just trying to tell you that everybody has like another secret self. So when Julian disappeared in the episode, everyone's like, oh wait a minute, just as everything goes to shit, he's just nowhere to be found. So we're just waiting for a big reveal. But they won't actually reveal who Dr. Alchemy is till episode 9. That's like when he'll actually take the mask off. So before then, there'll just be a couple more clues about who he is, but I'm still going with the Julian Albert Desmond Dr. Alchemy twist from the comics. So it'll be like a variation of Dr. Alchemy from the comics. But let's do top 10 WTF and comic book Easter eggs. So number 10, they open the episode like it's Wally's TV show, like we're back in the Flashpoint universe. I am the Flash, just like the same way Grant Gustin does it every week. So you kind of have like this cheesy Wally scene where he's just doing everything to help the city, just having a great time of it. Then he wakes up, tells Joe, he's like super excited about it, like, oh yeah, I get to be a hero. But Joe's like, dude, do you remember what happened with Magenta a couple weeks ago? She said she had the dreams, she went to alchemy. So Joe is just like trying to talk some sense into him. But the big metaphor of the episode is that you can't ignore problems, you have to deal with them. So number 9, Barry comes clean to everyone about Flashpoint, Wally, and Iris. And even she's disappointed. Like she thinks that Flashpoint Iris is cooler than she is. And of course, Wally's like, I have to have powers now. It got a little soapy for me during this part, but they're just trying to get across that almost like the true Wally is trying to claw his way out of this husk here. So I kind of ignored the character stuff because we all know that he's going to become a version of the Speedster. But the real question, like Joe's fears, number 8, will he be the Wally that we know, like the good Wally, or will it be a dark twist on that? So I will say they didn't make that yellow Kid Flash costume and spend all that money on it to only use it a couple times. So eventually, whatever ends up happening when he comes out of the chrysalis, even if it's something super crazy, he will eventually be Kid Flash again on the TV show. It just remains to be seen like what happens before he puts that costume on. Like if they're gonna take some dramatic WTF left turn where he goes super crazy for a little while. But number 7 is the Cecile plot. So if you couldn't tell, they're turning her into a pretty big character on this show. She also has a daughter that's almost the exact same age as Wally. So it's like they're telling you they're going to introduce her eventually. I don't know if she's going to be a meta or anything like that. I think she's just going to be another cool character for them to interact with. So you can kind of feel the sexual chemistry between the two of them. They're basically just trying to tell you that, maybe they're meant to be together. And if everything with Dr. Alchemy and Savitar doesn't rip them apart, she'll effectively become Wally and Iris's new mom. But I always like when they tease things that you know that they'll have to pay off later, or else, we'll just riot. Like, how could you tell us about all these characters and then not introduce them? So eventually we'll meet her daughter. But number 6, meet the Shade. So he's a meta on the TV show, but in the comics, he actually has like a measure of immortality. His powers work a little bit differently. They're just trying to introduce like a more scientific explanation for what he does. Like he vibrates like Barry does to give the appearance of invisibility. So it's not quite the same thing, like his powers don't come from the Speed Force, but functionally it looks almost like the same thing. But Harrison Wells, Earth 19 Harrison Wells, is the person who gives him the name. Oh, we had a guy named Shade on our Earth too that had pretty much the same powers. So then number 5, Caitlin finally comes clean to Cisco about her Killer Frost powers. She's going to use the power dampeners for now, but obviously we know episode 7, next week's episode, is called Killer Frost. So there'll be some big twist and she'll have to go nuts. And the big question is will she be able to stop herself from being evil? Like the whole point here, the whole reason she's afraid is because she's convinced that she's going to be evil. So there's like a couple things that the TV show hasn't explained, like she gets powers, but is there like a psychological component to her powers? Because otherwise, she'd totally be able to control herself. Like she'd just be making things cold, absorbing energy. But the way the TV show is presenting it, it's like, something is happening inside her brain that's making some other personality take over, like a Killer Frost personality. So I'll understand if you guys are just like a little confused about that part, because unless they explain something different, she didn't get her powers from Dr. Alchemy. She got them because of Flashpoint, so they just occurred naturally after the dark matter explosion. Full-on Vibe versus Killer Frost. I love that he doesn't tell her. In the way they colored this, you can barely see, but they are wearing their full-blown comic book costumes that they teased in that other video that I posted last week. So these are what they look like. They're a little blurry here, but you can kind of get an idea. Pretty close to their comic book personas, just a slight twist. So either way, we're going to find out in next week's episode. Like that episode 7 will completely explain where they're taking the character. I think it's going to be really interesting. And no, Danielle Panabaker is not going to leave the show. Like, she's worried that she's going to be evil and have to leave. She is still very much a series regular. So even if she does go evil in the future, she might be gone for like an episode or 2. She's still a series regular. She'll still be in most of the episodes. So number 4, I will call Shipper's Bait. This is basically like the biggest bait that you could give Barry Iris shipper fans, where he flat out tells her there is no Flash without Iris West. So they're a big thing in the comics, so obviously we knew that they were going to get together on the TV show eventually, but this is just them telling you, oh yeah, we are totally doing the thing. So I'll understand if you guys think that it was like a little cheesy, like a little heavy-handed the way they did that, but they just want to get that across. Like, they're definitely pursuing Barry and Iris this year, but the thing is, when they get all nice and cozy, that's when the villain comes in and does something crazy. So Savitar is going to get in the middle of that. So if you're not a big fan of how soapy they're getting with this relationship stuff, just wait to see what Savitar has to say about Barry and Iris trying to enjoy themselves. It's just that there's a long history in the comics of evil Flashes trying to go after Flash girlfriends or wives. So you can imagine what the TV show is going to do with that. They're going to have a little bit of fun with that idea. Let's see, next one. Flash versus Shade actually wasn't that big of a fight. That was really just a distraction for Wally West's WTF. So number 3, Wally versus Iris. He just gets knocked the hell out. Bam, goes down like a sack of potatoes. But they follow him to Alchemy's lair, and even though they were a little heavy-handed with the twist, like, I wish for you to all be away, I did like the way they set the stage. Like, they had that creepy atmospheric music in the background, like the followers there are chanting. So it definitely reminds you of the aesthetic of Zoom's lair in season 2. Like, if you're a really evil person on The Flash, your lair has to have like a certain level of dark grunge to it. But number 2, they apprehend Alchemy, but Wally picks up the Philosopher's Stone and activates like the process of becoming that other Flashpoint self. So he goes into a chrysalis, which is actually a deep cut from Babylon 5, which they name dropped on Arrow, so there is some meta sci-fi crossover happening. But if you didn't watch Babylon 5, at the end of the first season, like, one of the big characters goes into this chrysalis and undergoes this huge transformation, and it's like this really ominous portent of things to come. But it's not necessarily a bad thing. So the question is what will Wally look like when he comes out? Will he just be Wally with Flash powers? Will he become Kid Flash? Or will he be twisted inside like all the other people who got their powers via Dr. Alchemy? So if you're wondering how the Philosopher's Stone is able to give him his Flashpoint self, give him those powers that he had in that other timeline, they'll explain that in future episodes, but it'll probably be some twist where like the Philosopher's Stone is a remnant of that other timeline. So don't worry, they'll totally explain that in a future episode, just like they'll explain Dr. Alchemy and the big twist behind him. But number 1, WTF obviously, is Savitar, the god of speed. He's actually, the name Savitar is the Hindu god of speed, so that was what they used that for in the comics. But you can see he's super armored, he's physically much bigger than Barry, so it's basically like a motion capture villain, Gorilla Grodd style. So there's like an actor in a mocap suit when they're filming these scenes, and then they add the special effects later, so he looks kind of like Megatron. What we'll probably find out is that, he's a person underneath there, but he manifests his costume from the Speed Force the way they do it in the comics. Like, they just introduced that idea in the Rebirth comic, but they did confirm that the next couple of episodes will like slowly tease Savitar out, but really the big reveal in episode 9 is going to be Dr. Alchemy. So there's still a lot of Dr. Alchemy to come before they roll hard on Savitar. But just in general, it seems like they're setting Savitar up to be the big challenge for the second half of the season. So that's why we're only just seeing him now, even though he's been around this whole time. So you guys can let me know what you think. Like, what do you think of the look of Savitar? Do you think that Julian Albert is connected to Dr. Alchemy, even if he's not flat out alchemy? I think there's going to be a big twist from the comics. It won't be exactly like it is in the comics with Desmond Albert, but it'll be pretty close. So just a reminder that there is a new episode of The Flash next week, but everything else will be on break, at least for DC TV. And they're supposed to be dropping a new Justice League trailer soon. Maybe they're going to attach it to Fantastic Beasts, or they'll wait till December to drop it, but there is a new Justice League trailer coming soon. So another big heads up, there is a new round of the DC giveaway that's going on right now. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave a comment on this video. It's just a $20 Amazon gift card. So we'll do an episode 7 Killer Frost trailer video next. That'll post tomorrow morning. And then there's a new episode of Arrow. They're going to debut another big comic book character. So get hyped, it's going to be a lot of fun. I was actually really happy with this episode. It'll be interesting to see where they take the Savitar character. It has a lot of potential, but they're really only just teasing him, so we'll see how close he is to his comic book persona, but obviously he looks a lot different. And the extra cool thing here is that nobody else can see him but Barry. Maybe that's because he's moving so fast, but they'll probably explain that the more they tease him out. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here for the trailer for the big Fortnite crossover, and you can click here to learn all about Marvel's Inhumans TV show. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.